Well, this case, the extraordinary details of this case first came to light last year when Damien DePile, a former soldier, spoke publicly for the first time about what he went through this training, which is known as the conduct after capture training, which the military says trains soldiers how to respond if they're captured in a conflict. And it exposes them to the kinds of interrogation techniques they may be exposed to and the kinds of torture techniques they may be exposed to if they're caught by a foreign adversary. Damien DePile says that this training has gone too far. It subjected him to a whole lot of humiliating and torturous kinds of behaviours that have left him with PTSD and depression. Now, he's suing the government over this. He's saying that the government breached his human rights, but the government, shortly after this case was filed, sought a suppression order to try to get all of the details basically withheld from the public. We tried to report on this matter when it first came to light last week, but we couldn't report on it in full, so we went to court. And in court yesterday, in the federal court yesterday, the judge decided to put some documents on the case file, and what we can report now is some more extraordinary details here, including that the government itself admits that this program uses techniques that appear to be in breach of the Geneva Conventions, and also some horrific details of what DePile and other soldiers went through during this training, including having hallucinations, throwing themselves against a wall in one case, and in Damien DePile's words himself, that he thought that this training was real, that he was actually going through these experiences himself.
It was great to see the ABC forcing this transparency. So, Pat, what happens next?
Well, first we have to go through these heavily redacted, and they are heavily redacted materials, and just try to pick through what we can report. Most of that is being reported today, but the court's given us 7 days in which to submit more details about what we want to access in the court file and why we should do that. But meanwhile, the case is continuing, and the government is defending it, saying Mr DePile had the opportunity to exit this training whenever he wanted, and that it hasn't actually breached his human rights. But that trial is going on.
Pat McGrath will continue to watch your reporting on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we have the Defence Minister and Deputy Prime Minister Richard Marles joining us. Okay, let's go to the ABC story this morning, care of court documents made public that the Defence Department knew some of the training that Australian soldiers underwent breached Geneva Conventions. Did you know about this training?
Well, firstly, this relates to an incident back in 2019. It's obviously in front of the courts now, so I'm limited in what I can say about this specific event. But I think what I can say, Michael, is that the training which is undertaken today is seeking, obviously, to prepare people for an appalling set of circumstances. What matters is that this is done in a way which is voluntary for those who engage in the training, that there is an ability to tap out at any point during the training, and that is the case, and that the safety of those undertaking the training is paramount at every point in time, and again, that is the case. If there are lessons to be learnt from this case, or indeed any case, about how we can do this training in a more with greater efficacy, but also with greater safety, well, then obviously we'll learn those lessons.
But the documents, Minister, the Defence Department does say, your department does say, some of the training actually breached Geneva Conventions. That's not okay, right?
Well, again, I'm not going to comment about the specific case. I think people need to understand that what training of this kind is seeking to do is to prepare people for an appalling set of circumstances. But clearly, the safety of those engaged in the training needs to be paramount. And as I said, what central to that needs to be, and there is, an ability to tap out at any point as the training is being undertaken. And of course, the training in the first instance is voluntary, and that's the way in which it's conducted now. And I reiterate, I mean, if there are specific lessons to be learnt from this case or any case about how this can be done in a better way, then we will learn those lessons.
Richard Marles, appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Michael.